Okay, great. Awesome. So we will get started so that we can stay on time and task. But I'm really excited to introduce you guys today to Allison Gilbert. Allison and I connected a little over a year ago, kind of in a shared passion for entrepreneurship and small business economic development initiatives. Her background is really diverse, which I think both of you will connect to, and just being small business owners yourself and kind of having to wear different hats and your backgrounds that influence your store openings and the businesses you run. But Allison's current role is the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship at Monmouth University, which is a university here in New Jersey. Really very well located right on the shore. So it's got great proximity to the beach, fun downtowns, fun small business districts, with a lot of really cute, also quaint towns surrounding it. Allison's background comes from the startup world, so she's helped scale and build like $1 million businesses in the media as well as the food space. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Allison so she can, give another quick intro on herself and share some details that maybe I haven't already. And we'll dive into building business models and inspirations and strategies to kind of help you grow your own business this year. So Allison, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Yes, thank you for such a nice intro, and it's an honor, and I'm really excited to be here with you and talk about what you're working on and help you innovate and grow. As Kate mentioned, I'm the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship at Monmouth University here in New Jersey. I actually got my start in the business world as a pastry chef. I was en route to go to law school and could not answer the question for the entrance essay why I wanted to be a lawyer. And a friend of mine said, Allison, if you can't answer that question, maybe you need to rethink this. And so I followed my passion for cooking and started running a bakery, and then went to New York to open up my own, and went to culinary school, became a trained pastry chef, worked in Midtown Manhattan, had my own private pastry catering company from my tiny little apartment. And kind of a serendipitous New York moment, met someone who had just joined a early stage food media company. There were 3 people on the team at the time. And I said, I'd love to get an intro. And I did the next week, and I was hired on the spot part-time and worked in a kitchen, and then took the leap, quit my job. The owner said, I don't have a full-time job for you at the media company. And then a month later he did. And so within that year, I became the COO, and we scaled that into a multi-million-dollar business, readership in the millions, 40-person team. I built out marketing, product, and the operations side of the company. And then I went on from there to help scale another media company in the wellness space. And that's when I kind of knew, okay, I want to take this and bottle it up and help support as many women-led businesses as I could to reach growth in their own niches and in their own markets. It started that startup studio, Project AG, a little over a decade ago. And then I went on to start something called The Big Whisper, which is an early stage incubator for emerging entrepreneurs, and also a tools company that helps you develop your leadership skills and your entrepreneurial muscle. And then that led me to the Center for Entrepreneurship. So I am super, super passionate about helping small business owners, emerging leaders, startup owners kind of find their niche and hone that magic and find fulfillment and wealth and generate impact with the businesses they build. I really see entrepreneurs and owners as artists, and business is the medium for connection and impact. And I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs at this point, and it's just been an honor, and it's exciting, and I love it.
Well, you have screen sharing ability, so I know you have a deck prepared, but before we kind of dive into the deck, since it's a small group, and Glenda, don't worry if you can't come off your mic to share. I can fill Allison in a little bit about your business. But Sheena, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to Allison?
Sure. So I'm Sheena. I am a licensed medical massage therapist, and I've been doing massage for 18 years. But I also, in our location, we have a salt booth, infrared sauna, and red light therapy as well. And then I'm also in school to become a classical homeopath. And I've got certifications in a whole bunch of other holistic health stuff, including being a functional blood work specialist. So that's
Super
me.
diverse. When did you start your business?
Which time?
Whichever one you want to start with.
So,
Or your first business. How about that?
so my first business was massage therapy, but I've started and built a business and left multiple times all across the country because my husband was in the military. So primarily massage was the business the whole time, but just, in various locations.
Amazing.
And Sheena, do you want to share, so Allison can kind of maybe tuck it in the back as we talk? What are some of your big business model or vision goals for driving growth for your business this year?
Yeah, so my business is a little hard because it's time for money. So scaling directly just massage is difficult. So I'm trying to figure out how to package some of my other things to maybe do something on the more digital realm or group classes in, health and holistic wellness and stuff like that. But I'm not really sure how to do that or what to go with, or so I just really haven't done anything. So I'm just booking clients, and I won the Golden Peach Award for Best Massage Therapist recently. So
Amazing.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
yeah, so I was super excited. And so, I mean, things are going well. It's just I want more, and I want to
Mhm.
be able to, provide more for clients as well.
It's a wonderful place to start.
Yes, awesome. And Glenda, I can go ahead and introduce your business to Allison, but feel free to come off mute if you can at any point and share more details. So Glenda is the owner of Heartzogs. It's also located in Gaffney. So both of our participants here are located in Gaffney, South Carolina, really wonderful community. And well, nice little quaint downtown, lots to do. Great Main Street manager. Heartzogs is, I would say, really well known for being like the department store atmosphere in town. It's been there for several decades, family owned business. They have everything from fine jewelry to, I think, baby gifts, wedding registry, apparel, accessories, quite a large, diverse product base, as well as some service offerings in there with like the registry component. And I think they do, elevated gift wrapping and things like that. So I'm sure she has also ideas of, like Sheena, that there are ways that they want to be able to reach their consumers and maybe offer a new class of service experience level, as well as maybe service offering level through their business, while maybe even considering, I know she's expressed in the past, shrinking maybe some of the footprint or changing up the footprint of her store to possibly accommodate some of those new ideas. So that is sort of my knowledge of Glenda and Heartzogs. But of course, at any point, Glenda, please feel free to tell me I'm wrong, or type in the chat, even if there's things you'd like Allison to know as we continue the discussion for today. And Dana's our lead on marketing and communications. So Dana, feel free to chime in at any point as well. I think we'll keep this a very light sort of open discussion and presentation format for today. So if you guys have questions as we go, feel free to come off mute and chime in, or type in the chat you'd like to pause on that thought and ask a question. All right, let's dive in.
Let's dive in. So I'll screen share the presentation, and since we are an intimate group, Sheena, please feel free, and Glenda too, to kind of interject and sort of share where you might want to explore something further with your business. I think we can have the presentation guide our conversation and also turn it into an open dialogue. So let me present. And then I should start with a screen share.
There you go. You should have permission.
Yes, here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Great. So I sort of approached preparing for today. Oh, I should do it as a full screen, right?
Mhm.
As sort of trying to pack into this session, sort of the top sort of tips and strategies that I have seen from across all clients I've worked with over the last decade and a half. And it's a mix of sort of some mindset strategies and also some more maybe brass tacks strategies. But I would say, you know, I intentionally chose these because they were the most prevalent. They are and continue to be the most prevalent in what I'm seeing founders and owners and entrepreneurs utilizing to help strengthen their business and position it for growth. I gave the intro about me, you know me. It's actually 7 strategies. So I actually start with fear, and I was sort of laughing a little bit to myself because even last night I was having a client conversation. It is without, like, it is universal that I see in any kind of moment, whether you're starting something from scratch or you are at an inflection point of growth, or you are about to take something to the next level, in some way, shape, or form, fear is a part of the equation and it manifests for people in different ways. I experience this too at each inflection point on my entrepreneurial journey. And so I always start here because I find that it can also be a nice reminder to kind of have that awareness, that take a little inventory at this inflection point of growth and sort of decipher, where might I be feeling some limiting beliefs? What kind of fear might I be feeling? And oftentimes so much about kind of evolving on a business journey or a leadership journey, it's actually not so much our fear of failure. It's actually our fear of how powerful we are. And that's sort of its own delicate dance and conversation with ourselves. But so much about, you know, having the safe space to evolve and grow is about naming that and acknowledging those feelings and coming up with strategies or practices to help counterbalance them. But oftentimes, you know, fear is the precise indicator that you're onto something that you're exactly meant to do. And it's also a teacher, and it can be one of the best sort of sources of fuel for how we grow. And just another little kind of science nugget on that is, you know, our brains actively look different or are in a different state when we're in a state of fear. And so, you know, I invite you to think about that at this stage of the journey and create that space for yourself so that you can tap into your creativity and sort of expansive thinking as you prepare to innovate your business and take it to the next level. And I would also say that this is sort of one of my favorite tools. It's called The War of Art. It's a book. It's thin. It has all sorts of little nuggets about the concept of resistance, which is sort of interchangeable with fear, and how it manifests at these key moments of when we're stepping into a new level of something. I come back to this book often. It is posted, it is underlined. I even brought it out this past January as I evolve into another level in my entrepreneurial journey. So this is one of my favorite tools that I recommend to folks. So I just, you know, invite you at this stage to consider, you know, what limiting beliefs or fears might you have right now as something to discuss with yourself as you think about taking things to the next level. I'll pause here before I go on to the next one. Sheena, I don't know if you want to have a response. It's no pressure at all. I can move on, but feel free to share if you do.
No, absolutely. This is mine shows up usually as self-sabotage in the I'm too busy in the chaos of life. Is usually how mine shows up. Just I'm a mom of 6 and all of the other things, and program director for the massage therapy program at the local community college. So I'm always like, oh, I'm so chaotic. And then I end up self-sabotaging and like, so missing deadlines or something like that. That's kind of how my fear ends up showing up. So this absolutely resonates for sure.
And to put you on the spot, and feel free to say you're not comfortable sharing, but do you have any tools or tactics or things you do to sort of navigate that?
I do, and it's pretty it's not anything revolutionary. I do a lot of journaling and meditation and trying to just slow down. That's one of I'm a go, 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 go all the time and always on the drive. So having to sit is really hard for me. So sometimes there's that resistance there too of like, I don't have time. I don't have time to just sit down. But I find that what I'm resisting is what I need to do. In order for growth to happen. I find that to be a trend for me.
Mm-hmm. I see that too. It's oftentimes hard to create that white space, and then once you do, you realize that's exactly what I needed.
Great.
So sort of next strategy is, to double down on your pillar strengths. And this is to say, especially as sort of multi-passionate, oftentimes, we are multi-passionate entrepreneurs. We're interested by a lot of different things. We are doing a lot of things. You are case in point, Sheena, for all the different activities and things you're doing around your business, and specialties and expertise that you have. And this is a taking an inventory of, okay, of all the things I am doing, which ones are utilizing, my absolute top 3 strengths, and doubling down on those as sort of a building block to guide where you go next with your business, and thinking about, okay, I'm going to optimize for those 3 strengths because I'm the leader of this business. And when I'm energized, it's going to come through in my business. And then when you get really clear on the areas that maybe are not your top strengths, it can sort of inform, well, of course, the choices you make, and also the kinds of people you partner with. And in time, when there are resources, the kinds of people you bring on your team or collaborate with to help complement that. But when you are operating from a place of strength, it sort of is this virtuous cycle. You feel more of utility, you're more productive, you become more expert in those areas, you're able to offer more value and make more impact. And then sometimes new strengths emerge, and then you can recalibrate and kind of continue through this cycle. But sometimes easier said than done, but taking an inventory and getting very, very clear with what are my absolute top 3 strengths, and having those be sort of the guardrails that guide decisions that you make. And a tool that I find can be really helpful, and I've seen a lot of clients value and appreciate, is this framework called the Jungian archetypes. And there are these different sort of categories of maybe sort of what your brand falls into. And then it sort of gives a description about the kinds of activities and focus areas to consider within that category. And I found a lot of people, I linked to 2 articles, and I know we'll send this to you afterwards, but this could be an interesting framework to help give you some clarity about, okay, I'm a sage, like I'm really good at sharing knowledge and synthesizing knowledge and coming up with ways to sort of repackage and reposition. And sometimes you can be multiple ones of these, but all sorts of tools to help you figure out like what your top strengths are. But this is one that I've seen my clients resonate with over and over again. And then this one I really recommend, which is the Clifton Strengths Assessment, which gives sort of a deep dive description. I think it's now $24.99, the top 5 report. I've explored Myers-Briggs and all sorts of other personality assessments. I think the thing I like about this one is it goes deeper and sort of gives you a narrative about what your strengths are. And then it also gives you some ideas for how to channel those strengths. So just a reflection question to consider at this, stage, like what are the top 3 strengths that you feel, most energized by? And we can pause, Sheena, if you want to share even just one that's coming to mind for you before I go to the next.
Sure. I think I really love my role, and it travels across all of my multiple things of being like a mentor and a guide, and sharing my knowledge in that way. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I'm really excited to dig into these resources that you have. I love this stuff.
Awesome. So next kind of strategy is to do an exercise and sort of excavate of like what your why is. What's the bigger than money reason that drives the choices that you're making? You know, great quote from a thought leader, Simon Sinek: people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I'd say even especially now in this economy, people want authenticity, and they connect more with the purpose behind what you are doing, more so than what you are doing. So this tool, sort of when you are coming from a place of why and purpose and mission, people can feel that, they connect with that, and that sort of dictates how you, the kinds of product, the products you create, the activities you engage in. And then that sort of informs, okay, who are the people who need those things and want those things to really help them? And then it can guide, okay, what should I create and do to fulfill that for them? And this was adapted, you know, I kind of made a little bit of a tweak from it, but this is adapted from Simon's work. So before we can stand out, we must first get really clear on what we stand for. And I just included 3 brands here. Now these are, you know, big box brands, but I'd say looking to how big brands do things, you can take the strategies that they employ and you can adapt those to your business, even if you don't have the desire to become, you know, a multi-global coffee chain. You know, you can still pull from these tools to help apply them to pushing and advancing your business. I think, you know, Starbucks to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. So this is a tool that is adapted from Simon Sinek, you know, using this sort of very simple framework to start putting to words what your why is. It's the two, so that the two is the contribution that you make through the work, and the so that is the impact that you'd like to see happen from that contribution. So I added some examples here we can go over. Let's say Maxie, who's an author. I am obsessed with giving women the tools they need. I can't see because of to believe in themselves, and I'm here for the global rise of women. Her contribution is to give women the tools they need to believe in themselves, and the impact, the so that that she wants to accomplish is the global rise of women. And you know, the thing about a why is I see it as sort of a living, breathing tool. You know, the goal is to just get it to good enough to give you some clarity and direction. I mean, my why has evolved over the last 15 years, but interestingly, it's actually still quite tracks to what I wrote down when I first set out on my journey, which was to make a measurable and meaningful impact on our economy. And I wrote that down over 10 years ago, and I didn't even totally know what I meant by it. And then when I see the work that I'm doing now, it's kind of amazing because I am doing that, and it's gotten even more precise how I'm doing it. So this one, you know, what's the bigger than you beyond money reason you're doing what you're doing? There's all sorts of other questions. I also have some tools through my company, The Big Whisper. There might even be an article that I have that has some reflection questions that can also help you get at your why. This isn't the only reflection question, but it might, you know, start to jog your thinking. So we'll move on to the next. I mean, well, actually pause. Why don't we stick with that format, Sheena? If there's anything that resonates for you or comes to mind with you of thought starters around your why.
Yeah, so my why definitely needs a little bit of some zhuzhing, because for a long time it was just our secondary income so that I could say yes more often to our kids or to a vacation or to pizza night because we didn't have the extra. So that's how it started. But now it's transitioning a little bit more that there's so much more to it that I need to sit down and consider on, and I think that's going to help with me picking where I go next.
Sure. So sort of a complement to your why, which is sort of the mission and the purpose behind what you're doing. Tapping into your vision can really help you set the direction for where you're going. And I love this quote by Jonathan Swift: "Vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others." And I think in this headspace, we all have a unique perspective. We all have our own kind of background and DNA and drivers and motivations. And when we get into this headspace of like, what do I see that maybe other people don't see? That's a great starting point to figure out kind of what is your personal vision for how you want to see the world different through the actions you take and the way you build your business. And vision is a guiding tool. It gives you that sense of direction. It is sort of meant to be a North Star. You know, I similar to your why, it will evolve. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough to give you that sense of clarity. I like to reference how when I was growing up, I would often do these road trips with my parents, and we would get in the car and we would say, "Where are we going?" And they'd say, "Oh, we don't know. We're just going to go south and we'll end up where we end up. Like, we'll see where we want to get to." And then we would get in the car and we would drive south. And sometimes we would land just south of, you know, the border in South Carolina. Sometimes we would make it all the way down to Florida. We had the direction. We knew we were going south, and then we kind of let the journey dictate where we landed. And sometimes we adjusted the route as we went. But just knowing that was our direction, that's sort of what guided our trip. And I'll say about, you know, vision, I find that actually a lot of times when we are stuck or at an inflection point, and when I say I find that, I'm saying I'm finding that with my clients, it's actually often because we're not thinking big enough. And a lot of times what gets someone unstuck is creating the space to sort of move beyond their comfort zone in their thinking and really kind of expand and how the options they're considering. It's actually not, you know, that oftentimes, it's not always, but very, very often. And I would say literally just my client call yesterday. I had a client call earlier at the end of last week. Actually, like, they're all at these inflection points, and every single one of them was in that space of like, actually, I'm not thinking big enough. And we kind of cracked that with them. And then all of a sudden I saw their entire mindset shift. And, you know, this can mean just being open to different ways that your products and services can show up in the world. This can mean different channels and marketing spaces that you go into. You know, when you open yourself up to a bigger vision, you open yourself up to more expansive thinking. And, you know, I invite you to think of just being open to whatever comes to mind that is beyond. And similar to the fear thing, you know, we have to create that safe space with ourselves, because it can be harder to tap into that when we're not feeling safe and having the quiet moments to tap into that. And I reference Burt's Bees as an example here, because when they first started out, they were a candle company. They were selling candles, and what was guiding them was supporting the health of bees. And this was back in the 80s, and also really having a value for natural ingredients. And I think they were sort of one of the earlier brands in the sustainability and natural ingredient space. And, you know, they took the principles of that vision of supporting bee health and sharing natural ingredients through products, and it ultimately inform new product lines, and they're a very well-known brand now, and they sold eventually. And this is not to say that everyone's path needs to be a path to building a global brand like this, but it is to say, you know, what you start off with, you just never know where it could lead, and however that takes shape in your life and your vision. And then my other little tool or guide for this is sometimes we get kind of really overly focused on vision. I sometimes have this. It's kind of having that kind of sense of, okay, I got a sense of the vision enough to guide me. And the minute you have that good enough clarity, kind of let that vision just be there and then immediately focus on what's in front of you. Step 2, trust in that vision and then just start taking steps. Some people can start to feel a little analysis paralysis. They sort of hang out in vision world. And the vision tool is kind of simple. Like the vision is too, like how do you want to see the world different? How do you want to see people's lives change through what you're doing? This is an example of a brand I worked with in the super, super early days of when she was getting started. Excuse me. She's an eco-friendly, fashion-forward, reusable bag company. She first started out as a mesh bag, and she wanted to tackle, the plastic waste and create an option that would mitigate people buying plastic bags and kind of bags at the store. And her vision was to be a strong global brand with a variety of eco-conscious products that are functional and beautiful while helping to empower disadvantaged women. And she does all that. And then actually she ended up finding a completely biodegradable material. So what started off was as just a regular mesh bag, which was trying to create, she thought through the eco fashion, it would help make people want to use this bag over and over rather than using plastic or other bags. And then she evolved and actually was able to make this bag completely biodegradable. So she found a mesh and developed a mesh to help even further mitigate waste and pollution. So great guiding question for tapping into your vision is, how do you hope for the world to look different in some way because of what you're building? And I'll turn it over to you, Sheena.
So for me, I want to change the way that we look at aging or change any like changes in life. So a lot of my clients are unhealthy and but all their labs are normal, or they reach 50 and then their body starts falling apart. And I want to redefine that is not how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be able to get to 90 and still be living a full life before, we're ready to transition into whatever comes after. And that's like the big vision of my
That's
business.
A very big and awesome vision. So tip 6 is feel the numbers. I love this quote by a businessman from the early 20th century, Peter Drucker: what gets measured gets managed. So to complement all of these kind of what I would say like sort of softer strategies, balancing that with also like the brass tacks of looking at the money. There's a template I include here. This is the most like lightweight template for just organizing, revenue and expenses. Just having this visibility and organizing numbers, it can just be a very helpful, clarifying building block. And I really recommend, if someone's not managing their money or have a visibility in the inflow and outflow, to definitely take the time to do this. And this template is pretty straightforward. And I think this would be like a fairly short exercise depending on how your numbers are organized. But just first and foremost, like understanding and getting a snapshot of your financials as a sort of jumping off point and an input into considering opportunities for different revenue streams, opportunities for changes in what you're expending your money on. And this field of numbers is both money and kind of taking inventory of how you can be more efficient, whether it be through the people you're connecting with or how you're spending your time. So I'll come back to this one in a second, but I love sharing the 80-20 rule. Taking an inventory of how you're spending your time and the activities you're investing in or the products and services that you're investing in, and really seeing, okay, which of the 20% of them is actually yielding the 80% of results. And you might be surprised. You might be surprised of where you're getting an outsized impact, an outcome of a smaller amount of effort. That's a great place to start to figure out what revenue streams to go into, what changes to make. And that, that can be a journaling activity where you're really just looking at all the things you're selling, or all the activities you're engaged in, and looking at them and having that question of, how much time is it taking me to do this for me to get what the outcome is? And then I love the 100 True Fans principle by this writer and thought leader, Kevin Kelly, that, you don't need millions of dollars or millions of customers to generate wealth. That actually, and 1,000 can sort of be used loosely, whether that's 500 for you, 25 for you. But the principle here is really figuring out who your true core customer is, and not just your core customer, but like your biggest fan and the people that you are making the biggest impact with, and going deeper with them, figuring out how you can continue on a journey with them and continue to add value to their journey. And then also, have the clarity of the profile of that person and look for those other true fans. And you do the back of the napkin math, and you look at how, if I continue to go deeper with this fan by offering these products and services, you look and see what the numbers look like. Similarly, if you find more of those fans with the product or service you're offering at the price point that you have, how do your numbers look? And oftentimes, like when you're going deeper, but in a concentrated and a more niche way, you start to see pathways of more scalable revenue opportunities. From that, Sheena, does anything come to mind? Like, does that spark anything from you from all the different activities you're engaged in for your business?
I think this is gonna be something I need to look at as far as what's working in my marketing versus products, because right now I'm very heavy just massage right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna have to look at, because I have spread myself maybe a little too thin in multiple different areas of marketing. And some of them I'm realizing like that was not worth the amount of money like I put out. Like my return on investment is not great. So but I'm a big numbers person, so I think we're gonna have to reevaluate some of those options.
And that is like for any business too, like the thing about marketing is it's like also it can both be the way your business changes, and therefore that dictates different marketing activities, but also sometimes just like what works, what got you here isn't what's going to get you there, even if you continue with certain products or services. And that's also just the nature of a marketing cycle, and that's universal. You find what works, you double down on it, and then until it stops working, and then you shift and you find another strategy. And that's a universal theme that I see on any business I work on. And then, the last one, we're closing in on 7, and I know we want to get to the tools that Kate and Dan are going to share from the Beyond Main platform. This is I kind of organized a bunch of ideas of different ways you can diversify your revenue. I think, this will be something for you to consider, but in your own, reflect on and research, but just to sort of give you all some thought starters. E-commerce integration, that's one. You're here through Beyond Main, so there you go. Thinking about curbside pickup and local delivery, virtual services, online workshops. The beauty of globalization and Zoom and the internet is that, yes, you may be offering something and you might be a brick and mortar, or you might be primarily focused on serving a customer base in a smaller geographic area, but how can you utilize the tools of technology and connectedness to expand and share beyond your backyard? Local collaborations are great. Where could you maybe do a pop-up or a cross-promotional event or an experience with another brand to get exposure, and also sort of join forces and energy to help maximize what you're both doing? If you're a retail location, how can you create different types of experiences and activities beyond maybe your core service offering that complements what you're doing in that space. You know, seeing a lot of, you know, coffee shops in stores, a lot of sort of community-based events or gathering activities in stores, all sorts of ideas around, you know, experiential retail. And then just a few other ideas to kind of give you some thought starters. You know, membership programs, where might you, you know, back to that 1,000 fans, maybe within those 1,000 fans, you have like a few VIPs, you know, how can you go even deeper with them and give them an experience where they're feeling like they're the member of something? Then they become like your super fans, and they also end up kind of, a lot of times what happens when you have a membership or a VIP experience is they sort of become marketing for you too. They share and spread the word, and they become ambassadors or evangelists or for your brand. How can you be weaving sustainability initiatives into your offerings? You know, maybe a give back program that resonates with people and is also sort of a sticky point for them to want to keep coming back to you. You know, there's also the actual kinds of stores where you can refill and have reasons to come back, but all sorts of different ways that you can tap into sustainability initiatives, loyalty programs. You know, how do people use your service or buy product after, you know, 10, do they get something free? All sorts of ways to do loyalty programs, subscription services that can also have people on a cycle where they're more likely to renew and have some, you know, the Netflix model of continuing to have, you know, consistent revenue come through to the business, and for them to have the convenience of that subscription for them. And then brand partnerships, like, you know, that's similar to local collaborations, but this is maybe how can you maybe partner with influencers who want to promote your brand or do some sort of special experience with them, for them to get out in front of their audiences. Or if you're a product-based business, how can you do you know, some sort of new product together to reach new audiences? So that is my final, you know, tip. And I think, you know, that I'll leave you, you know, or Sheena, go for it if you want to share if there was any of those that sort of stuck out to you.
Not necessarily. I do have a lot of people who have asked me though about memberships for massage and things like that, and I can't see the vision there, but it's definitely something people have asked for. So
Cool. So just kind of my final little note before we move on from this portion of the presentation. You know, I've seen across the board that, you know, we meet our businesses as far as we meet ourselves. And so the beauty of being an entrepreneur is it's sort of a built-in personal growth experience. And so as we sort of meet these different moments with ourselves to evolve and grow, there's actually a pretty direct impact on what happens with our business. And also entrepreneurship is a muscle. You know, I believe we all have it, and it's just the reward for learning to master the 5-pound weights is actually not lifting anymore. It's actually moving on to the 8-pound weights. And when you measure the 8-pound weights, you know, you move on to the 10. So you know, always keep working, you know, that muscle. And that is conclusion. Thank you so much.
That was great, Allison. And I think a really great activity, you know, if you can spend some time kind of going through those initial strategies with just getting clear on your vision, your why, where you want to go with your business, where you'd like to evolve to next. Those last 2 slides with the suggestions of the technology, the subscriptions, you know, I think a really great activity would be to list all of those in a notebook and just start jotting what comes up for you. Like in each of those areas, what would you love to be able to offer or execute? And sometimes that's those ideas. We can, you know, work with you to figure out how the Beyond Main platform or how you can begin to activate that to drive your business model growth and your revenue cycle. for the year and beyond, and just to apply some, like, where test and learns, maybe a few are going to become core offerings, but maybe a few are like experimental, and we can kind of help you work through each of those different areas and figure out which ones are right for your business to begin utilizing and testing, and how you can unlock the platform to be able to support you with those goals. This was fabulous, Allison. Thank you so much. I always
you.
love hearing you speak and hearing all of your inspiring mental frameworks that you use when thinking and approaching about entrepreneurship, but also business building. Um, on the Beyond Mean front, just two quick things, and then we're gonna spend the last few minutes we have together with just some Q&A, and we can take any deeper dives into any of the questions that have popped up for you guys today. We did release our new reservation system. There is now a new section on your backend dashboard that says reservations. And so kind of going along with today's exercise, and even from January's chat around experiential retail, this is a great opportunity to be able to put some of those key things in place and get appointment booking set up for your business. Different activities that you might want to be able to engage with customers, whether that's like offering a consult of some sort. Sheena, that could be a client consult that's, maybe it's $50 that you're putting as the fee, but that $50 goes towards whatever you recommend for them in that consult, whether that's a massage or, a diet analysis or whatever is in your suite of services. And, Glenda, that might show up for you as like a personal styling appointment where it's $50 for an hour, and then they come in and you guys, do some fits with them and show them the best brands that for their body type, or, a personal shopping appointment for friends or loved ones. There could be a lot of different ways that you could utilize this creatively for your business. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew that the reservation system is live for you to begin exploring and brainstorming ideas, but then also once you have those ideas that you'd really like to set up, you have the automation to be able to create that ability for customers to set appointments with you and promote it online. And we'll send out in today's recap with the playback of the video, Allison's deck. There will also going to include some information on videos, tutorials you can watch so you can just understand a little bit more about how the system works. But then please feel free to reach out to Dana, myself, or Jeremy, or Jenny, or Jonathan with when you're ready to get moving to the action steps of setting that up. All right, so that's coming your way. And with that, let's talk. Yeah, questions for Allison, for our amazing speaker.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I was able to jump in about halfway through, and I'm sorry that I missed the first because this is so all over where I need to be, and I can't wait to watch the playback because I'm in a point where so I've always said I buy stuff, I sell stuff, I buy more stuff. So if your stuff isn't selling, I don't buy any more of your stuff, kind of thing, and move on to the next person. But where I am now is I want to get leaner and meaner. I want to that 80-20 rule. I want to see what's bringing me the best and focus on that and pare down and get stronger, and my whole goal is being here less. So, how to work less and it still do the same for me. I still haven't figured out all that is kind of just feels like over my head when you ask me what my vision is, or what kind of imprint I want to leave, or, we've been downtown. We're probably in our 77th year this year, and Charles and I bought the store, and it's going to be our 25th anniversary in May. And we just come to work every day. It doesn't feel like work. It just is what we do. So, having to stop and think about how it affects us or how it affects somebody else is kind of mind blowing, but I'm anxious to do that work and see where we're going to go, say the next 25 years, and still be here, but not be maybe what everybody expects us to be or what we have been for 75 years, but because you have to, as we all know, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you've got to you've got to bend and be creative and reinvent yourself over and over. And it's so much harder these days to sell something. I mean, you got to get it in, you got to price it, you got to put it out. Then you have to show it to everybody online because Lord forbid them come in to actually see it, or to shop. There are those customers, that do that. And I do have great loyal people that are always coming. But I'm excited to dive into what you have to say. And I'm sure I'll have lots more questions as I get into that.
Yeah. Glenda, I will leave you with this little nugget too, as you're kind of going through the mental exercises. I think especially in a business like yours where it's so well established, there's so much sort of like community heritage, right? Embedded in the persona of your store and what you do and what you offer. Try to push the boundaries as far as you can to feel like when people come here, what do I want them to feel? What is sort of the feeling I want to evoke? And I think if you can kind of tap into that a little bit, new ideas are going to explode for you on like the business side of how do I streamline my inventory to evoke that feeling? How do I set my spaces to evoke that feeling or deliver that experience? And I think if you can maybe focus there a little bit, you'll be surprised with maybe what presents itself as like, this is the direction I'd love to go in, as stepping stones.
And I'm sorry, but is that something that I'm going to have to come up with on my own, or is that something somebody's going to tell me what they want?
Well, we can help you in going thought exercises. Like I say, let's like, and even Sheena, like we're perfectly happy. And I'm not gonna volunteer Allison, but I'm sure Allison would love to like join us as well. So we can set up sort of like one-on-one time after you guys have a moment to kind of decompress from the call today and maybe go back and rewatch and do the thought answer questions. I would say try to get through that, and then let's find a time to reconvene and we can dive really more deeply into more thought-provoking questions to help you kind of get to the good enough. Like these are things and these are concepts that even like in our business, I'm always coming back to. Like our core mission is not changed, but how we do it, how we show up, what's needed in the moment always does change. And
Right.
so I think that's sometimes the hardest switch in your brain you have to get in and out of is like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Where do I want to go? What sort of presence do I want to have in this world? And then you have to kind of quickly switch back to the now, how do I do that? Right?
Right.
Or where am I at today? And how do I make changes so that I can, maybe realize that big vision one day? I mean, someone said to me one day, if you ever reach your vision, it's not big enough. Like,
Right.
and that really is true. Like it should be this unattainable almost thing that you're sort of, it's always aspirational, right? Which is frustrating, but it's also very true because that's where you're growing, you're developing, you're changing, you're reinventing, you're finding new ways, and new opportunities too. So we'll set time, I
Thank
think,
you.
for each of your businesses to kind of go deeper. But I think if you can spend some time, an hour or two, find it, carve it out, calendar it in, and work through those questions. And at the very end of the presentation, if you're still feeling inspired and not totally out of brain power, then maybe try to jot down some ideas of ways you could take action in those areas, those 2 slide areas with all the different sectors of like memberships and loyalty, like whether you have it, if you want to modify it, like just start to jot down a few things and then we can group up individually and try to help you work through like, well, how could we do this? How do we prioritize these things? What's realistic? What's manageable? And get into more of the tactical pieces.
Thank you so much. I enjoy all your sessions.
Great, thank you. Oh, we have 2 more minutes. Sheena, I'm sorry. Did you have any other questions? You were a great participant. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem. Yeah, no, I feel like I kind of, I'm glad Glenda got, her chance to get her, questions answered. And no, I'm just excited to go back through, dig in and get a little bit more clarity on some of these things. Because I do sometimes feel like I have analysis paralysis over what to pick because I'm so much information to give. I don't know where to start.
Yeah. It's very common. I feel it too. We all feel it.
Universal. Yes.
It's totally universal. Yeah. But giving yourself the space and the time to work through it, I think is the biggest gift you'll give your business, honestly. And then the action stuff is actually very easy. It's getting to what do I need to act on? That's the hard part. And transformative type of, new initiatives you're trying to launch. Would
Yeah.
you agree with that, Allison?
I would, and I was trying to think of a quote. I don't know who said it, if it was Abraham Lincoln or a lumberjack, but it was like, if I had to cut down a tree, I would spend like 7 hours sharpening the knife, and then I'm butchering this, but I think the sentiment is coming through, and then, the cutting would be more seamless. And I'm not saying you need to spend 7 hours on a Sunday going through all this, but the sentiment of, it is interesting when you sort of invest in that, the invisible stuff, the kind of the fear stuff and the why stuff and the vision stuff, and sort of that's actually laying a strategy. And that's the stuff that sort of connects the vision to the tactics. And I think that's actually one of the biggest, like, sort of inside tips maybe that you can adapt from like a big business owner. Like, they are putting that time into to work on their business, sort of take them out from working in their business. And just getting, but then also knowing you got to get back into it for sure. But that time that Kate was saying, calendaring and creating space for is an investment, even if it feels sort of invisible.
Mm-hmm.
Get that too, Sheena, yourself, like that quiet time when you do make it, you end up seeing the positive. You'd be amazing what comes to you when you're kind of in silence and in quiet.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, good luck. Everybody go set time on your calendar now. That's your
Yeah.
first order of business.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
Great to meet you, Glenda. Great to
Thank
meet you,
you.
Sheena. Till next time.
Absolutely.
See you next month, everybody. Bye.